Hello, you beautiful, awakened, and evolving logoi, or more appropriately, sub-logoi, or actually more appropriately, sub-logoi. But for that, we're gonna have to get into this video and understand exactly what I'm talking about here. As usual, this is a very introductory description of these concepts, which is the logos in this case, and it's just a beautiful way to explore our creation and the universe itself, as we are part of it, because it relates to us directly and what we are. So if you want to study this more, of course, the raw material is the best source we have for getting into these fascinating concepts that I am trying my best to describe here as a sort of appetizer for the main menu that exists there in the raw material. So with that caveat out of the way, you know already that I create videos on this raw material, which you can always find here, whatever relevant video I have covered. And let's get straight into the logos, because like I said, I think it's a beautiful way to understand our universe and the whole creation, and with especially the scientific research and discovery that we have had in the past couple of centuries. So before I start with the points that I have here, I want to start with something that Ra said that I think will put everything into context to begin with. So let me read to you what Ra said here. In session 15, question 21, Ra said, "The first distortion, free will, finds focus. This is the second distortion, known to you as logos, the creative principle, or love. This intelligent energy thus creates a distortion known as light." If you want to watch, of course, session 15, I have it up here so you can see what the conversation was about, because there's always a lot of preliminary information before we get into these concepts as Ra is describing them. But because we're in this series and you already know the primal distortions and what intelligent energy is, then we can understand that the logos is the focus of intelligent infinity, and that is through the first distortion of infinity, which is free will. Now this, if you remember from the three primal distortions, are sequential. It's free will that creates love, that creates light. And you can see how infinity focuses, right? Intelligent infinity focuses itself into something called the logos. And that is through its free will. That is the first primal distortion, the second one being love. And in this case, Ra likes to call it also logos, because we have called it logos in the past in our history. So that is, it's sort of like playing with words to understand simply the sequential process of having free will, intelligent infinity, which is us, having free will in which to focus itself for the creation of love, the creative principle, and then that creates light. And light is what we use our create with. This is the clay of the creator, if you will. And with that, you can see what the logos is now, since we have intelligent infinity defined, intelligent energy, the three primal distortions. And so that focus creates the logos. Now, what is this logos is a good question, because this logos, as we know it, is basically the whole universe. There is one grand central sun, and this is the hierarchy of the logos. And now we're going to get into the sub logos and explain this whole this whole pattern that exists. But the grand central sun, the way I understand it, and I think it's a nice way to put into our model, is that the grand central sun is essentially everything. The whole universe is the grand central sun. This is the focus of intelligent infinity to create one universe. In this case, we're using the word universe, and I know that Ra makes it a little confusing when they use the word universe, because they even talk about multiple universes, but those universes are within what we call the observable universe, the collection of galaxies, if you will, of the space around us. And so the grand central sun, you can imagine it as the observable universe, but in reality it's just infinite. There is just an infinite amount of galaxies, as far as I understand. And so this is the grand central sun. This is the first logos, and Ra likes to call it the grand central sun or the primary logos. Now, within the, and again, within seems to imply like there's something without or external to this, but there is no such thing. There is just infinity creating this universe for it to be more iterations of itself for experience. And this is the hierarchy of things, which I'll explain as we go along. So the grand central sun, just imagine it as the observable universe. And I know that doesn't do honor to the grand central sun, but it's the best way we can have a sort of reference with our limited mind. That focus of intelligent infinity creates the grand central sun, which in turn starts creating the galaxies. So the galaxies are sprouting out from the grand central sun, as we know, the universe. And we can even throw here dark energy and dark matter as the material, again, if I could use that word, in which the galaxies are manifested. And the galaxies are the second iteration of the logos, which in this case, I would say, and in this taxonomy, I would say that the grand central sun is the logos, and the galaxy would be the sub-logos. But again, you will find this in the material that they say the galaxy is a logos. It can get very confusing because they don't use an exact taxonomy, but when you study the whole material, you see this is what they implied. There is one primary logos, which is the whole universe, into which galaxies are manifested. These galaxies would appropriately be sub-logos or sub-logoi. Each galaxy itself is its own creator. And now I'll explain that the grand central sun creates the parameters, the main parameters for the whole universe. And now these parameters are given to the galaxy. These parameters are also known as archetypes. And the parameters or archetypes, I'm just going to stick with the word parameters here, so it makes a little bit more of a technical sense, but those parameters are being presented to the galaxy. So the galaxy, with its free will, again, an iteration, the hierarchy is not here as superior and inferior, but rather a different iteration, smaller and with the capacity of altering these parameters for a variety of experiences. And so each galaxy takes the initial or primary parameters and modifies them at its will, because it has free will. And the galaxy itself, now that has modified this, presents this to the next sub-logoi, which are the stars, in our case, the sun. And so these parameters are now taken by the star and modified further, so the galaxy would have each star or sun modifying their own archetypes or parameters created, or just played with, just configured by them. And the grand central sun just simply puts everything for the whole universe. And so lastly, which would be, we have the logos, sub-logoi, or sub-logos, sub-sub-logos, and then sub-sub-sub-logos, which is the mind-body-spirit complex. Us. We are another iteration of this. So that's the hierarchy of things. The grand central sun or universe, then the galaxy, and then the star. And finally, the mind-body-spirit complex. Now you can see that we are part of the solar system. We were created by the solar system. The solar system's matter coalesced into what we know as planets. And out of these planets, we came about. So we are as much the planet as the planet is the sun. And of course the sun, as it created itself, was created by the galaxy's matter. And again, I'm using very reductionist terms here, but you can see how everything belongs to the other one, and it's just another holographic iteration of it. The galaxy is the same thing. It was created by the same universe. There is no other universe, but the same parameters that were set in place. And one of the ways that I love to see this is that when we look at the stars and when we see galaxies and we see our sun and everything else, what we're looking at is, and again, this is a very reduced analogy and very limited, but it's almost like we're seeing the synapses of the neurons in the whole cosmic mind spark and flash as we are part of it. And we may be parts of those dendrites in the neurons, but we are still the whole mind. We are connected through the whole mind. And so that's a way to see, again, the hierarchy and why do we have this apparent size in which we belong, and why we may feel like we're very small, but in reality, we're just the whole universe. And that's the whole hierarchy. Now, what is the purpose of the logos? And finally, the sun, which is the one that creates the octave for manifestation. And for that, before I get into this, I want to read to you something else that Ross said in the raw material, and then we'll continue with this. In session 29, question 11, Ross said, "The process by which space-time comes into continuum form is a function of the careful building, shall we say, of an entire or whole plan of vibratory rates, densities, and potentials. When this plan has coalesced in the thought complexes of love, then the physical manifestation begin to appear, the first manifestation stage being awareness or consciousness." So here we're looking at how internally the logos creates the octave of experience, the plan for the manifestation of this planetary system that we have. Now, before anything is created, the logos stays in a sort of timelessness state in the planning and the creation of everything that will exist. And that is the Logoic plan. Each star goes through this process before it manifests anything. And after it has done this, then all of this starts manifesting, the densities. And the densities here, I'm talking about a specific plan within the densities. Remember, the parameters were set by the grand central sun and passed down by each Logoic entity, if you will. And those, the densities were already created. However, the way in which we progress through those densities and subtleties that exist within the densities are tinkered with or are played with by the logos. In this case, our sun. So we're talking about the sun here and any other star, but our sun created the densities the way we know them. And again, there are 7 densities in each star in every galaxy in the whole universe. But the way we traverse those densities and little nuances were created by the logos, by the sun. The archetypes is another thing, like I mentioned, it's part of the parameters that are specific for the evolution of the soul. Those are also played by the sun or the star. Space-time and time-space are not created until the logos has made up its plan fully, and then it begins to manifest. The paths are also nuanced into little differences that exist. For the paths being here, of course, the ways in which we can evolve, because the whole purpose of any sun or any octave is to create an evolution. And so the biases are also one thing that are related to the paths and the evolution, because our biases might be towards more beauty in the external world, or more inner peace, or there are so many things that even the words that I'm using are not enough to describe this little differences. Like, for example, one of the things that Ross says in the material is that we were given opposable thumbs, and this was part of the logos for us to have a variety of buildings or tools to be created. And of course, that resulted in an unexpected belligerence, which is our ability to simply fight each other and hate each other, and not hate each other, but that exacerbates the possible dislike that may occur within entities, and of course create machines of war, which we have been very good at. So, and the patterns are just everything in general, everything within like I said, I think the word is nuance here. and how the Logos creates all of this. So this is the Logoic plan. This is the reason why we have so many stars, infinite amount of stars, because let's face it, if you could explore every possibility and every path that you can take for evolution, wouldn't you want to do it? It would be a blast, and this is what the Creator is doing, right? So this is the Logoic plan that Ra also mentions, and it's important to keep it in mind to know the variety of stars and the different experiences that we may have. There's a part in the raw material where they say that they have been aware of other galaxies, and we're talking about galaxies in the way we know it, because Ra also mentions the word galaxy as a solar system, but they are aware of other galaxies that have unspeakable ways of having an experience as an entity. So you can imagine just use your imagination here for all the different things that a star can create to have all kinds of experiences. All, again, following the hierarchy of the initial plan. And this is perhaps the best way we can see the initial plan as being something thought out of the infinite or all the experience that has been gathered so far. And then it creates all the galaxies, so it spreads out these possibilities of experiences. And so, lastly, I want to talk about the holographic all mind, which is where we're going to tie this in with a practical information. And let's read something that Ra said as well. In session 55, question 17, Ra said the following: "You may begin to see your relationship to the Logos, or Sun, with which you are most intimately associated. This is not the relationship of parent to child, but of Creator, that is, the Logos, to Creator, that is, the mind-body-spirit complex as Logos." Now, prior to this paragraph, Ra had mentioned something about Mother Earth and how we are not children of Mother Earth, but rather the parents of the Earth. We are birthing this new Earth, and they said that it is in the womb, this new Earth that we are birthing, which is fourth density in this case, and we as the parents are the ones that are having trouble trying to birth the Earth. And now this creates a different view of what we normally see ourselves as, which is that we are children. We are like trees that are part of the planet, and we are expecting the planet to do something for us. And it's quite the opposite, because when you analyze this and you actually take your position as the co-creator that you are, the sub logoi, or as Ra likes to say it, sub logos, only two subs, because they seem to just obviate this grand central sun, as it seems implied already. So the galaxy being the first logos, then the star being the first, the second, and we are the third, so sub logos. But in any case, this just emphasizes how much we are the creator, how much we are this logos in development, in evolution. Like I said, we can see the whole universe as being part of a huge mind, a cosmic mind that in essence creates everything, and we are experiencing ourselves within the universe. And the holographic all mind is important for me to just say it, because there is just one mind in the universe that created everything. And every single iteration is just one way to experience itself as it created itself. Because remember, the intelligent infinity focuses itself so it can manifest. All the focusing results in love, which is a star or a galaxy or simply a logos, just to generalize this creative principle, which is the logos. And from there, light is manifested into a specific pattern that was created initially, so everything else can be shaped and play with, in essence. And those plays are differentiated by the different logos. And the logoic nature is to create and create and create. And that is who we are. We are logoic creatures who are going through an evolution, not to create when we get to the end, but in this experience, we are creating experience, which is the most valuable thing for the whole cosmic mind. And each one of your lives is completely and absolutely necessary for this universe to work the way it is. It is absolutely necessary for the evolution, not only of the planet and the people around us, or the star, or the galaxy, but the whole universe. There is nobody like you in the universe. And although that sounds very trite, it is the truth. And when you sit in your consciousness, and I think one of the best words that they use here is that we as consciousness are the logos. The logos itself manifests as consciousness. Ra said this, and this consciousness is who we truly are internally, if we can use that word. The inner light is that consciousness that knows everything. And so cultivating this, to me, is one of the most beautiful things, because you get in touch with the creator within you. And then you can come out and play in the light, as the light is the manifested portion of the creator within you. So I hope this made sense. I know this is a topic, like I said at the beginning, that it's even more fascinating when you read it within the material, and now you have this information and you can put it into your model and just start making the connections as to what they mean when they use the word logos. There's a couple of sessions that are important, and again, I'll leave them up here because they are more descriptive of all of this information. Hope you liked it, hope it was informative, and that's all I got for today. I believe the next topic we're going to talk about is the densities of consciousness, something that I mentioned here, which is part of the creation. And you're probably asking, what are these densities? If you know them, great. If not, then it's going to be a new information for you. But even if you know it, there's going to be some cool information that's always expanding our own consciousness and understanding of this whole philosophy of the law of one. So with that, I thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.